This is Housebound. I'm Chris.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlynn.
I'm Greg.
And you're invited. I remember that it was really awkward when we did this last time live.
Yeah.
We were just bouncing
waiting,
along to everything.
waiting. Is it my turn to talk?
Yeah.
Welcome to Housebound. This is a podcast we made 2 years ago. April 12th was when we released trailer number 1 for the first season. So we're we're recording this just ahead of the 2-year anniversary, I guess. But we made the podcast because we were a little bit lonely.
Yep.
We were separated. We were isolated. We were housebound. And we wanted to chat with each other, and we wanted to talk about just life with each other and still be in communion with each other.
Yeah.
So this podcast was the way that we decided to go about doing that, or as I came to later understand, was the way that I decided to go about doing it. And you all three were just like, yeah, we're good with that. Sure. If Chris wants to do a podcast,
It's Chris's
we'll
world.
come
We're all
on.
just living in it.
Yeah.
You have all the expertise for this.
We're just all the guest stars on your own podcast.
It's
Yeah.
If Greg would have been like, great, I want to start a podcast, I would have been like, awesome, I have an iPhone. Like,
Yeah.
You want to do it live? I mean, you can record podcasts from your iPhones or from your phones nowadays, but this is episode 50. This is our 50th numbered episode. So thank you for coming along
Golf
with
clap.
me on this on this trip.
on almost exactly our 2-year anniversary.
Just about.
If we were a human, we would be walking.
Oh,
Whoa.
2 years. Okay, I was like, at 50, I would hope you'd be walking, but
Maybe you stopped walking at 50.
2 years. Yeah.
2 years, yeah.
52?
No,
So-
just 2.
Oh.
Soon we'll be flying.
What?
As soon as
From
we get
walking
on pilot's
straight to
license.
Hey,
Wings.
those inspirational from crawling to
Wings.
walking to flying. Like that's the transition.
Who needs to run or drive a car?
Yeah.
Just grow some wings.
Yep.
well,
Just all confidence over there.
as you listeners can clearly tell, we don't take ourselves too seriously at all on these podcasts. But I did just want to acknowledge the fact that we've been doing this for 2 years, and this you've had season 1 was just week after week after week. I think we just did 25 episodes within a 30-week period because we kind of came up with the idea a little bit late and just crushed them all out. Season 2, we had them spread out a little bit more. Season 3, you're getting more better episodes for the more better season, and
For that low price.
of
Free.
of free
And having to
tingling,
wait
tingling in your
a
earbuds.
month between episodes.
Yeah, thank you for waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 50, and we've done other episodes, we do the Christmas episodes, and we've had a couple of bonus things, and so it's probably closer to 55 or something like that. I'm really happy that we got through 50 episodes. It makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel like I stuck with something for a while. And
Are you leaving us, Chris?
What?
Yeah, this sounds like
And
a...
now
This
I
sounds
am
like a good-
announcing my
Sounds like a
retirement.
goodbye.
Yeah.
that's all from me.
we're
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
There were
Without
3.
Chris, we're going to talk about fungi some more.
no. Yeah. That's true.
Chris, he is a fun guy.
Oh.
I was looking at the analytics for. I was looking at the analytics.
That noise for both of these boys.
I was looking at the analytics for the podcast, and I was really hoping that by the time we were recording this episode, we would have gotten to 1,500 plays across all platforms. We're still stuck at 1.4K, so 1,400 and
so
some.
close.
It doesn't show us kind of where we are in there, so I'd like to think that we're really, really close to 1,500. But that's exciting because we kind of marked those milestones when we reached 500, and then we reached 1,000, and now. Sometime soon, I expect we'll reach 1,500. So thank you for listening and commenting and taking part in our giveaways and our shenanigans. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say other than this
Goodbye.
This has been fun, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
No, we're going to be doing this till it fizzles out to nothing.
Well, that being
Until we
said,
get in a fight and we don't like each other anymore.
Yeah.
I do, and some people have been asking me about it, and I was like, yeah, we're doing our 3rd season, and they're like, oh, that's really cool.
Are you famous? That's what I get asked.
Are you famous?
Yeah,
Not
are you famous?
very well.
Do people know you? Oh.
Some person in Lebanon does.
Yeah.
But they might have clicked the link accidentally. We don't know.
Yeah.
We'll never know. Please don't tell us.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to learn English.
It's not going to help them listening to our podcast.
Listen to us talk over each other.
But yeah, some people have asked me, like, oh, how long are you going to go for? And I was like, well, the way that the seasons are kind of not heading, but like the way that we've structured them, and given that I'm kind of like the driving force in the background of it, which is like totally fine. It's not a knock on any of us. I'm just, if it's up to me, I can definitely see that we kind of finish off this season and maybe that's it. But like the world is opening back up and we were housebound and now we're housefound. I mean, like we don't we might
Found a house.
It just feels right.
Just the way interlacing fingers do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe our logo
The home
needs
will
to
always
change.
be in our hearts.
I don't mean that we'll never record episodes again or anything, but like just the way that we've been structuring it, and we've made the amendments to do more episodes more
better
spread out so that they can be more better.
Not more episodes.
But not more episodes.
More better.
There's more episodes per episode.
Yeah.
The ratio of episode to episode. Or episode in an episode is larger, but just because like we are getting busier with things in our lives and like things are changing, and we might talk about all the fun changes that are happening over this year in the next episode or two. In fact, that would be really fun.
Be like one of those YouTubers who is like, and now we take a pause from our normal content for a life update.
I do not watch those kinds of YouTubers.
Who does?
You're gonna have to.
And you did a YouTube channel that was just you putting on makeup in 2015. You had life update videos and makap videos.
Oh, that's just full of drama.
Yeah.
But
Your life update is like, I was in a car accident and they filed. Can you believe it?
It's almost as if it was your fault.
Yeah.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah. But if it hasn't become obviously clear to any of you that have been listening for any length of time, I think there's maybe been like one portion of an episode or maybe one full episode where we like really tried hard not to like crack any jokes specifically, but
didn't succeed. I'm
but
assuming.
no, and it was just like we just can't help ourselves going into an episode and just not taking ourselves too seriously for some reason. And that's why for this episode, we've acknowledged the 50th anniversary of our episodes, or the 50th episode anniversary, whatever you would call it, 50th installment. But now we're moving on to our actual topic, which is today we're talking about humor and the many forms thereof. I
Not
thought
the bone.
No,
That's the humorous.
Okay.
Just so you know.
But that is...
You made that joke earlier, and I was like, there's something wrong with it.
Yep.
I don't understand.
It's
And then
Greg's
I-
biological knowledge.
But it could still be a humorous joke.
I mean, if you want to talk about like biology and humors, you could talk about the 4 humors that we thought were a thing when way back
But
when
unless
like
if you haven't heard Greg, they're not real.
they're super not real. If someone's telling you that they are,
with modern science.
yeah. So
Gotcha.
you know,
There's
humorous.
There's
is,
still
is the
content
bone.
there. You can still explore it.
there's potential.
There's potential.
But I thought that it was really appropriate that this episode is an April
Funny bone.
episode.
That's what I was thinking of. Your funny bone.
Oh.
Also not real.
But what? You call it your funny bone. Right?
Well,
No, I call it my elbow.
Oh, well, that's weird.
I reject your science.
Replace it with my own.
this is good. These are all good examples.
Yeah. That might be your truth.
But
I love that for you.
April, we start the month off with April Fool's Day. And so it's a very appropriate month to be recording something about humor. And yeah, I just wanted to as I said before, anybody that's listened for any length of time will know that we intersperse our serious discussions or our semi-serious discussions with humor.
Or do we intersperse our humor with serious discussions?
I think
that's the true question.
There might be less
thesis right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've learned anything as much as have rolled your eyes at our episodes, but
rolled their eyes. I'm hilarious. Thank you very much. See? She thinks I'm funny.
I do. And I want to maintain our friendship.
That's right.
Greg, on the other hand, is not funny. Not funny. I was thinking about what what the role of laughter or humor plays in my life, and like why I care about it, why I make terrible puns, why something presents itself as an opportunity to be a joke, and my mind immediately goes there, and I hone in on it and like start to process like, how can this be a joke? Because it's funny. It's funny to me. Maybe it's just because I overthink everything, and so I'm overanalyzing it, and that's the default. Is that like, well, everybody likes to laugh, so maybe if I make something laughable, then it'll be less awkward or more enjoyable. And I remembered that. So for any of you that don't live in Canada, I'll explain what this is a little bit for you. The Scholastic is a company that does book publications. And in elementary school, there was this book fair that they would host each year. And so it would often be like a pop-up shop in one of the rooms, like the library or the computer lab at your school, somewhere that there was space. And they would lay out a whole bunch of books from all these different authors. And they would be books
overpriced.
Way overpriced. For sure.
Yeah.
And but it was like such a fun thing to go and like look around, and you got this little sheet that you took that had all the books listed on it, and you could check them off and go home, and your parents would pay for them, and then you'd come back and buy the books, and like, yay, you went and bought a book that was overpriced. But it was like this experience. And
what? Really?
Yeah.
You had like a festival for it?
They called it a book
fair.
fair. It was just like one classroom at a time would go into this room.
And it was available outside of school year hours.
Well, I got the magazine.
School hours.
Yeah, we got the magazine too.
Yes, we also got the
you
magazine.
could do a
We
book
just got the magazine, and you could order what you
year,
wanted.
They would do like an in-person version of that.
What?
Yeah.
You didn't get it?
No.
Ah.
It's like they bring the magazine to real life.
And then you can like literally buy the book and take it home.
You're like,
That's crazy.
the mystery section.
I was always really excited because we would get the magazine, and then I would get the like one package a year that would be addressed to me of my books that we bought.
Yeah, having your own package.
We didn't buy too many books actually through there because they were overpriced and other reasons. But the one or two times that I did purchase books, one of them was from the book fair, and I purchased two books that I believe they were by the same author, and I don't remember what the second one is called, but the first one was called 101 Cat and Dog Jokes. The second one was also a joke book, but it was something about like there was people on the cover of it, so I can't even it wasn't like 101 people jokes.
Jokes about the Homo sapiens.
jokes about people, and then like the first one's like, "Yo, mama is so." It's like, well, this isn't maybe appropriate for kids. But I remember having these books, and I remember reading the books page by page, and each page would have like 2 or 3 jokes spaced out on them, and every once in a while there'd be like a cartoon drawing to go along with some of the jokes.
And
but
you
I remember,
laughed out loud every page, right?
I don't think I like laughed out loud, but I definitely remember. I definitely remember reading them and like reading them to other people, and being
you didn't memorize them.
I probably tried
and work
to memorize
on that
them.
delivery, that sweet delivery.
I mean, the jokes were like, "What do you call a this with a this?" An answer here, like
an answer here,
like. They were simple-ish jokes. So, but no, I remember that being something that I was very interested in, because
did you ever want to be a stand-up comedian? Was that ever in your brain?
I don't think so. I think I just had fun reading jokes, and like my dad would tell jokes to us all the time. And so I think that that's probably what got me interested in like humor. And I mean, lots of people like jokes, but like I was saying, I look at a situation that's happening in front of me, and if it can be made funny, I like immediately my brain starts to go there and tries to make it funny. So I've got this like extra sensitivity towards making something lighthearted or funny.
Okay, question.
But
do you think that helps or hurts you in job interviews?
That's interesting.
I think I try to be personable in job interviews, and part of being personable would be sometimes like, well, you know, like just being casual, laughing here and there for no particular reason. But I'm not going to go into a job interview and be like, for those of you that are listening to this, there is a video recording of this episode, and what I'm about to do now is a bit of a visual gag. I apologize in advance. This is Chris going into a job interview. Greg will play the part of the interviewee.
Ooh.
Interviewer, sorry. Go ahead. Hi.
I've never done this before. Hi.
What do you call a dog and a parakeet in a car? Like, you wouldn't do that.
That's weird.
Right?
That is weird.
I don't do that in job interviews.
Do you do knock jokes?
I don't. No,
knock.
Oh, do I understand knock jokes? Yes, I do.
Knock.
Who's there?
Greg's still trying to come up with a joke.
Think of anything.
To who?
To whom?
Oh, jeez.
You're not getting the interview.
No.
It's a grammar company.
Yeah.
A grammar company.
That's who he's applying for.
There's only one grammar company I've ever heard of.
What's the grammar? Is it Grammarly?
Grammarly. Yeah, that's the only one anyone's ever heard of.
That's the one.
They're the only people making any money off of grammar at all. Because nobody buys them books. It's true.
Grammarly has books?
No, but like books that you have to buy for grammar for school, for university.
Oh,
nobody buys them.
Oh, like Idiot's Guide to
Grammar.
English or
APA citations.
Yeah,
I don't buy any of
that.
that.
Google it.
Yeah, just Google it.
Anyways, yeah. So that is something that I can remember. That's like one of my earlier memories of me being interested specifically in humor beyond the point of laughing at something. Like I actually bought books to read the jokes in them, and I love the graphic novels, not the graphic novels, the comic collections at the library. So I'd frequently get out the Calvin and Hobbes and the Far Side. And when I was older, I started to like understand adult humor and would take out Dilbert and things like that I didn't understand before as a kid. I was like, I don't understand why these cartoons are funny.
Yeah.
And
because working in an office is terrible. That's why Dilbert is funny.
Yeah, like I got a glimpse of the work life, and I started to understand the complexities of it and whatever. But so that is why for me, that's a little bit that I can think of why I gravitate towards humor. And that's also why I like to like end off the podcast episodes in a lighthearted manner, because I think it's inviting, I feel, and it keeps people like more interested to come back for more, rather than, I mean, there's nothing wrong with signing off and being like, thanks for listening, and then outro music.
I think
there's nothing wrong with
that.
that.
We should be ending with talking about like global warming or something like that. You know,
Gosh.
end on like
Something really
like polar ice caps are melting and
soul crushing.
you know, just to like.
There are currently 13 wars currently happening in the world. Bye.
Bye.
So many people would just stop listening.
Yeah, just like how we had nothing to say after that. They would be like,
Well, no, it's the perfect place to end. There's nothing left to say. There we go.
yeah, and then you don't come back because you don't want to feel that again.
That's true. That emptiness. That
You should
just
just-
dark
Yeah.
emptiness in your soul.
This
wanna
episode should just
curl
never
up.
end.
Yeah.
Just record for 5 hours and say everything we've ever wanted to say. And then we just have no more episodes after this. We got to 50 episodes. No more. But I think a lot of the humor that we have in the episodes is subconscious. Like it's just a gut reaction about it. But I feel like we all have a pretty strong inclination towards jokes, whether quality or
quantity
or lacking.
Quantity.
Yeah.
Or
yes.
puns.
Quality or
Puns
quantity.
is the opposite
Puns.
of quality.
See, well, one of my questions that
Puns are the
I
easiest
thought
jokes to come up with, though. So I think that's
that
why.
I
they
thought
are
of was
not.
what's the lowest form of humor?
Puns.
And that's where
Something-
I think for some people it might be puns.
Mm-hmm.
For other people, like for myself, I definitely think toilet humor is the lowest form.
Like
Toilet
Farts and
body
poop.
humor, like all of that is like it's lowbrow. Like there's nothing really that you can think of. Whereas at least a
Yeah.
pun actually, like some puns are like pretty clever.
Yeah, if they're actually clever.
Hey,
If they
most
actually
puns
make sense.
I
are
feel like
generally
most of them
clever.
are somewhat clever.
It's just-
most is
I think-
accurate.
I think a part of humor is an aspect of it where it's like there's a matter of timing in terms of like when did you get it, and if you got it too early, not funny. If you got it too late, definitely not funny. But there's like that right like middle ground. You're like, that was a good pun, Where like, and I think it's
So
when does
you're-
it sink in?
So by explaining it like that, you
Yeah.
are putting the onus of the humor of
Correct.
the pun on the listener.
100%.
And
Yeah.
I feel like as the deliverer, it is your responsibility to present a proper pun.
yeah, you have to do the timing.
Stop victim blaming.
You just all don't understand the way my mind works.
But I think that's the case with most jokes, though. Most jokes, like if you get it too late and somebody has to explain it to you, no longer funny. But if you had actually like,
But that's not about you necessarily not getting it. It might just be that the joke doesn't make sense.
no, but there's a time where like a joke is said in a room, and maybe like half the people laugh. And then it's like, and then somebody's like, oh, but they're like late to the party. They don't laugh anymore. So, I think there's a matter of
delivery.
listening. No.
I
There's a
think
matter
it's
of
delivery
the
as
listener's
well.
onus, to be able to get it. And
requirement.
To be able to get it.
Yeah. Get
If
it
you're
or-
too stupid, you can't be funny.
or if you get it too quickly, at that point, then it's like you're too smart. So this joke wasn't for you. So.
It's like an onus to make the joke accessible to others.
Sure.
Because that would be
that's-
on the person that
that's
delivers
from the
it.
person that's delivering it.
That's
It's
a part
reading-
of it. It's a
reading
part
the
of it.
room.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So if everybody in the room is like,
Greg.
everything just goes over their heads, then you either just don't ever tell jokes or you just tell just the most basic jokes.
Well, and I think it's
That's the
also
rule.
like how, like it's. I think a part of it probably is like a comedian who their whole shtick is like puns. Like at that point, you're looking for the pun next, and then
I don't think anybody goes to
one-liners.
those shows.
No. There
I have
are
never-
legitimately funny comedians who are like they're all about the one-liner, like quick.
Yeah.
We have seen a few of them,
And they're
that
really
Chris and I
good.
watched that
And
are
I think it's
funny.
because you're in the mode of those one-liners, and so
I'm entering into this conversation with a bit of hesitancy, believing that is true.
it is true. I will show you some later.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is one guy that I can think of. He's like really introverted and wears sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever see him on the internet, it's just one-liners.
Yeah.
That's all he
Yikes.
does. And he's quite funny. I like
Yeah.
him very much. I don't remember his name because I only ever see him and I go, oh, that's the sunglasses comedian.
We're talking about Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
That's who I'm talking about. And he's quite funny. But I think that, I think the onus is on the joke teller to be funny because like you're telling a joke to a room of people who are going to have a range of intellect as well as experiences. And so if you're going to make a joke about something
We
that
make
I think
jokes
is really funny
All the time here,
because
though.
I've seen a certain show, then great. But maybe the other 20 people won't know that.
We make
So if
jokes
they don't
all the
think you're
time
funny,
here
you just gotta suck it
relating
up.
to how much we know about a subject, regardless of if our audience understands that or not.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
have we been doing it wrong?
Oh, probably.
Like
Well,
what?
that's if you want to include everybody. But our audience probably listens to us because they are somewhere around our level.
Are our parents, and we've asked them to listen to our episodes.
But also,
My
like
parents do not listen to us.
the environment you hear a joke in
Yes, that matters.
does set the tone for how you will receive the joke. And if everyone's laughing,
Certainly.
then it's like, and then it just makes it so much more funny. Whereas if you're watching the comedian on Netflix by your own in a dark room, late at night eating ice cream, like you're probably not going to end up laughing as much.
maybe.
No,
I don't know.
there's totally a social aspect to
I do.
how much
you're
you
watching
laugh
with
at
other
something.
people.
Talk about your roommates. Before we were married, you had several roommates that would like lock themselves in a room and like watch a show by themselves.
Well,
and I would come over and they'd just be like, just laughing.
It was more me specifically.
Well, there was times when we were together and it was still happening.
I just know a lot of people that they'll watch a show and they will laugh out loud heartily alone because they just think it's great.
Alone.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
something has to be pretty funny in order for me to be like laughing out loud by myself.
Really?
Yeah, I won't.
Oh,
I don't tend to.
There's the occasional
find it
TikTok
difficult.
that I will watch.
It'll be
make me laugh.
good knee slapper.
You just giggle from the other side of the house all the time when you're watching TikTok. But sometimes I have to be careful what I listen to in public, like if I'm walking down the street.
Yeah.
Because like, for instance, I listen to the McElroys. What's it called?
Adventure Zone?
Yes, the Adventure Zone. And sometimes they get me. And it's hilarious. And I will laugh out loud at work. Nobody else is around.
Yeah.
And they'll like, somebody will walk past the window and be like, oh, I don't know about her. Like,
Yeah.
There have definitely been a couple times when I've
Yeah.
listened to a podcast and have laughed out loud.
yeah.
Oh,
For
totally.
sure. Or at least, or just like just couldn't stop laughing or whatever, just for a brief moment.
There's a few comedy
But that's because
podcasts
like they
I
set
listen to.
things up like really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've listened to our podcast and
I definitely laugh out loud at all the same
Chuckled.
things that I
Yeah.
laughed out loud at when we
I chuckle
actually
at the
Yeah.
episode
recorded.
snippets that I
Yeah.
make.
there's Chris like ready to post on YouTube.
Well, I'll just be like
Twitter.
grinning. I'll just be grinning as I'm editing. it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mostly is what it'll be because
Yeah.
I know what's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I specifically choose interesting episode snippets to post. But I think that's another one. It's like I don't think I've posted a single episode snippet. There may be one that I can think of, but most of them have, even if we're doing a semi-serious discussion about something, in the middle of it there'll be a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always like in the if you look at
Usually
the closed
Ashlynn.
captions,
usually
a lot of
Usually
times,
Ashlynn.
in the closed captions,
I
you'll
mean,
see
I
laughter.
wasn't gonna say it, but I was thinking it.
I think it's interesting with humor how much intimacy plays a role. And I think it's crazy when you think about that aspect of it, how comedians travel and make a whole room of people that don't know them laugh, because I will find something funny that Chris says probably because I know Chris, not necessarily because what he said was objectively funny. Not necessarily. Sometimes it might be
Something out of character.
Wrong.
Yeah.
right. Or like if I'm listening to our own podcast, I will laugh at all of the same things that I laughed at in the podcast because they're funny and I know us, and that's what makes me like it so much, I guess, probably. And so I think that there's this aspect of intimacy that if you can make people feel like they know you, even if they have no idea, if they met you 5 minutes ago and you can tell them a joke and they laugh, like that plays a big role, which is one of the things that I like about taking Chris to new places, because he makes people feel at ease with his humor.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like
Well, except unless they're not that kind of, they don't enjoy that kind of humor, and then it's what we were talking about before about picking and choosing your environment. And
Yeah.
I work in the sciences, and I've worked in multiple different like departments and job spheres within the sciences. And I can tell you that in most of the settings that I've worked at, the introvert to extrovert ratio is like 10-1. There's a lot of introverts. And so I find that having a little bit of like humor in the office and like bringing that up makes people more open to be able to communicate, even if it's like not, it wouldn't be their natural response.
Yeah. Yeah. I do the same thing when we get an intern. Because again, it's a scientific
Just
setting.
laugh at them immediately.
I
Here's
laugh
your
at
intern.
them immediately.
Oh, you're serious? Okay, come with me. I'll show you.
No, not quite like that.
I don't want to be here.
But I do a lot of self-deprecation in my humor when I'm trying to make other people feel comfortable. I'm just like, oh, it's no big deal if you break something. I do it like
all the time.
And here's this story about when it was funny or I flooded the lab or whatever, right? Like, and let's laugh about how ridiculous I am. And I feel like that puts people at ease. And you can't do that constantly though, which is why clever humor is better, I think, because self-deprecating humor is exhausting. Also, people, exhausting.
You fit in the sciences.
Yes, I do. Very much so.
I'm glad you found your calling.
Are you introverted by chance? Nope. No further questions.
Yeah. They'll be great.
You, Ashlynn, have been a part of a comedy troupe.
Yes, I'm professionally funny.
What do you feel was your calling to do such a thing?
I received a phone call.
Literal calling.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
I've played piano for a local improv comedy troupe. Whose line is it anyway? Sort of style, and I've really enjoyed it. I like that sort of improv comedy sphere, and it's a lot of fun. But I think that our jokes and our troops like success in our shows matters a lot about like how well we know each other.
For sure, yeah.
And so when we're able to like meet regularly and do lots of work with one another, the jokes get better because you know what the other person's like strengths and weaknesses are and can play to their strengths. So that works out really well. But it's just a fun time. Like when we do practices pre-COVID, you leave like happier than you came.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's lovely.
Well, and case in point, like we've spent so many get-togethers doing this, and then when we are just together, I wouldn't say that there's any less humor. If
definitely not less puns.
Yeah, if we're playing a board game or video games or watching a movie,
I temper myself for you guys,
the listeners.
If we're playing board games or video games or watching a movie or something, then obviously we're not going to be chatting as much and doing the joking as much. But I wonder if, and we talked about this a couple of episodes ago about I can't remember exactly what it's called, active listening.
Yeah.
Is that what that whole discussion was about? And I think that part of that is part of that in these episodes, that active listening that we attempt to do, whether or not we succeed, is what drives us to like insert humor. Maybe because we don't have an opinion on it, but like somebody said was kind of funny and we feel like that could spur more conversation. And so we say it and then it takes the episode a different direction or something. Not that we have a specific path for these episodes anyways, really. Sometimes we have some questions, sometimes we have some notes, but it's like we're not too concerned if we get derailed a little bit. And so
or a lot.
Yeah. So
the train is off the rails, down the bank, into the river.
There is no more train.
Yeah. We need Yoda to get him out. Yeah.
Yoda.
But yeah, so that's why I think that it crops up a lot in this setting. And we have that we have that familiarity with each other, like you were talking about.
Camaraderie.
Sure. And the like which whatever you want to call it, like we are familiar enough with each.
I don't know. What camaraderie. There we go. That's it.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
Put A's into everything.
I have to like phonetically change my name. Yeah. Legal now.
I'm Chris. I'm Holly. I'm Ashlynn.
Greg.
Oh boy. Yes. No. That familiarity, that camaraderie, that understanding of each
Beautiful
other
delivery.
and where we come from allows us to insert jokes that are appropriate to the atmosphere that we would all understand. I just hit my mic. I'm so sorry about that, listeners. jokes that we all understand, jokes that we would all get. I mean, for the sciences, sometimes I just sit back and let it happen because I don't understand.
There's nothing you can do about
understand it as well, but
just buckle up. Try to make peace with the world.
Just don't think too hard.
So I completely agree with your observations about that, and I think those are very interesting observations because I never thought about that before. I just kind of assumed, it's improv, and that just means that's the exact same thing that I'm doing, just with less to risk. And so improv is like, if you make a joke and it's just like really bad, then the entire audience just doesn't understand it or doesn't get it. And if we're
move on to the next
four of us sitting at a table and we're all kind of on the same wavelength and we don't have anybody specifically watching us or somebody to impress in the moment, then it just comes a little bit more naturally. At least that's how I observe it anyways. And so then I feel, there's less at risk. I'll throw out a joke here or there. Greg clearly feels very natural.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable. Yeah. Which take
to
that
the
as
point
a compliment,
of defending
guys.
his jokes. No, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
You don't think it's funny,
it's
you're
you.
dumb.
Yeah, it's definitely you.
It's all of us.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
You just don't know any better.
So, once upon a time,
Story
in
time.
The beginning of December, the year of our Lord 2019.
Okay.
I had this.
Ashlynn, be serious for one moment here, please.
No can do. I had this incredibly vivid dream, and we all know reciting a dream later on is the peak of humor.
It's the peak of interest as well.
Yes.
Regale me this thing that never happened, but only happened in your mind.
Yeah.
Wonderful story.
So that we can all be like,
Why is it done?
go back to whatever we're doing.
Yeah, no.
I mean, if it tells us about a famine, that's important.
Yeah. So I had a the most vivid dream that was a montage. Have you ever had dream montage?
Eye of the Tiger?
Before?
I have not, but Chris has very specifically video-esque dreams.
Oh, it's like
Like he will, when he describes them to me and I don't zone out, he's like, and then it panned out and then it like zoomed
And the lighting?
into this person. The lighting was warm.
My
or
dreams
like
definitely
they're
do have like a
very-
That's
production
hilarious.
quality
Yeah.
to them.
They have a production
Nice.
quality. It's so ridiculous.
But that's all part of, like, I read a long time ago that your dreams are made up of, and I don't even know if this is even true. I just remember reading about it, that you can usually find 7 unique scenarios in your dreams from something that you have recently lived through. It's like your brain is trying to compartmentalize it all, and it's usually about 7 specific things. So it's like I'll wake up from a dream and be like, I remember I was in this house and there was these people, and I would just lump all the people as one, like all of my workmates in my grandparents' house, and we're having a bonfire, which we just recently had, and 7 specific things. But I mean, you could probably find a million
dreams
things.
are that normal.
mine was just, I guess,
and it's
just
in
trying to
letterbox
rush through
format.
them. So that's why it was montage.
Yeah.
So I had this montage dream that I had this idea that I was going to put together a stand-up set.
Oh.
And so throughout my montage,
Like a mic stand?
it's like me writing my stand-up
it's Ashlynn.
bit. It's to be writing my stand-up bit. And I remember I pitched it to you two, and you were like giving me some pointers on like change this joke or change this delivery or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the end of my montage, I went to like a local
Like, was Eye of the Tiger playing behind it the entire
probably.
time?
I went to some sort of like a local event for amateur stand-up or whatever, where you could like sign up on a sheet and just get your 10 minutes or whatever to try it out. And it killed. I did so good. And I like
What were the
finished the
jokes?
dream being like, da da. I remember none of them. It was montage. There's music going off. No sound.
No sound. We have no idea what any of the jokes were.
But I finished that feeling like, I could do this. Like, this is within reach. I could totally create a killer 10-minute set of stand-up. And so then I made it my 2020 New Year's resolution
Did you
to
actually?
make a killer stand-up set. And then there was a pandemic.
Aww.
Oh, and then you couldn't make jokes about the pandemic?
I searched and I found up like there's a group in Saskatoon that it does like amateur stand up and with like really low key shows where the only people really attending theirs are like different people performing that evening or whatever. And I was so excited about it.
And then they didn't have it.
Yeah, I wanted to live out my montage.
Do you still have the set?
No, I never made it.
Oh, because there wasn't anything to make it for.
No.
You should make it. And you should deliver it on this podcast.
You could deliver it here.
And we will laugh at it maybe.
We can do a bonus episode.
Bonus
It's
episode.
just a 10 minutes.
Chris will insert laugh tracks at the proper spot, just so that the audience knows when to laugh.
So I can get some feedback from just Chris.
Only
that
the
was
things
funny.
I think are funny.
Yeah.
That's
When Chris was talking about his dream,
Yeah.
I thought that what would be a great idea for, you know how like there's Inside Out, the movie that does like, you know, emotions and stuff. What about if it was like a bunch of like people in people's minds or wherever, but they were the ones who were like making your dream and like cutting it together and stuff. And so then for people like Chris, higher production value. Like we gotta deck this one out.
Sounds like a Pixar short.
But then,
It does sound like a
but
Pixar
then for
short.
Ashlynn, you know, it's like, oh yeah, no, we got to get the montage. We got to get the inspirational, you know, kind of thing. And then
I wake up feeling so refreshed and rejuvenated.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. And then for me, I don't know. It'd be like you throw in some like Hebrew in there and
You rarely ever remember your dreams.
and then it
So,
would be really weird.
high
and-
production,
I don't know what yours would be.
Inspiration, boredom.
Well, definitely
and terror.
boredom. Oh, terror. Okay. Yours would be like thriller,
Sounds
like
great.
yeah.
I wish they would swap. I'd like puppies, thanks, that don't get eaten by something.
Holly doesn't
Got to
have
file in the
Holly doesn't
complaint.
have good quality dreams.
Okay.
Oh, they're good quality.
Try
Yeah.
They're
this.
just not
For an
great.
entire day, you have one earbud in, listening to nothing other than Eye of the Tiger.
See if I dream a montage.
Yeah.
I'll wake Chris
on
up in the
repeat.
night instead of being like, I'll be like, Chris, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this song.
Yeah. Oh boy. That is it. I
could
like
be a
this
cool idea.
Pixar short.
It could be a cool idea.
Now one of us needs to learn how to
animate.
so that we can make it a thing and send it to Pixar.
Chris, you have Photoshop skills. Animation, right?
I mean, you could,
That just carries right over.
You can do some basic animation. But
I tell
you need
these days, one
different
day you're
programs to
doing
do better
Microsoft
quality
slide
stuff.
transitions, and the next day it's a Pixar short.
Yeah. There we
I'm
go.
sure it can't be that hard.
Screen wipe with Star Wars, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
You're so wrong.
Man, those
it's
are
so hard.
bad.
Yeah.
They're just so bad. What do
Screen
you
whips.
want me to say?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the dream production values that I have are like there'll be a scene that I'm in, and then there'll be voiceover, or there'll be a scene and then
Are they funny?
It kind of depends on what's happening in the dream at that point.
What's
it's not always
the
humor,
scenario?
but
Could just be a cityscape. That's the one he told me about for 20 minutes.
I don't remember.
It's fine. I don't want to remember either.
We were in Tokyo, and then you wouldn't believe it, the CN Tower.
Tokyo. Do you say Tokyo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
CN
it's a
Tower?
dream.
It's not real life.
See, like that was
your fault.
Yeah. See, that was my fault, though. We can all admit
Not
that.
mine.
See, case in point. Case in point.
So it's majority rule at any given time.
There is something to what I'm saying. I believe it. But yeah. There's also different medias in terms of comedy, like different types. So like you have TV shows, you have comedians, you got books, you have podcasts. Like there's a bunch of different ways to access humor, and I don't know.
when the presentation is different between them.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you can see the people, you can do like slapstick or situational
Yeah.
comedy.
And I find I very, very rarely will laugh at a book.
Really?
Very rarely. Whereas I'm way more likely to react to a TV show or a podcast where there's some sort of an audio, potentially visual component.
Maybe
Whereas-
you're not reading the right books.
Maybe not. I know that there was like There are times where
Too much Christian nonfiction.
If I do,
that seems depressing.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
The Trinity,
Atonement theory. Oh boy.
Probably doesn't lend itself to humor.
Yeah. But like there are, if I have laughed at a book before, like it has been like a legitimately funny book. Like I do remember I had to read for university. There was like a short, kind of like, it was like an anthology book. Like it's called Short Sketches of a Small Town, maybe Short Sketches of Sunshine Sketches of a Small Town, I think is what it was called. And it was essentially like, it was like Corner Gas.
Oh, okay.
Like where
Sunshine
each
Sketches of a Little Town.
Sure, that one. And then like, so it was an anthology but it would be like kind of different characters in each story, but it was all happening in this one small town, which was kind of interesting as you read it, sort of your understanding of the town.
The town broadens.
But it was just hilarious. Like these townspeople were just ridiculous. And like, yeah, it was good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't tend to laugh at books though. I don't know. You do?
Oh, yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
The characters have to be written well so that I think that my sense of humor relies heavily on connection. And so if I connect with a particular character, for instance, I literally yesterday just finished the Expanse books. I was listening to them.
Congratulations.
Nice.
But
That's a lot of books.
Read the first one.
I know that's a lot of books because Greg keeps buying them.
They're
but
all
not
done.
reading
You
them.
can't buy
Not
them
reading
anymore.
them.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm up to 7. I have 7 of them. I've only read one.
Okay. That's a problem.
I also have only read
Agreed.
one.
Yeah.
I like how they look on my shelf.
They look
though.
really nice.
We need to separate these two. They're enabling each
The
other.
blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
Did you buy that new book series? No, but I will.
Yeah.
What's it about? I don't know.
I
It
don't
just
know.
looks cool
The
on my
covers
shelf.
look so cool.
Each one has a different color.
Yeah.
The text isn't aligned.
And
That's a
they
whole
don't
other
look
thing.
nice.
That is
That's
a whole other thing.
other
But
thing.
it was good.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good. But
Nice.
one of the characters I just like love, Amos, the character is who I love. And just like every time he speaks, he's always super matter of fact and like to the point. But every time he's saying something, I'm like grinning, walking around the lab, like grinning at whatever
He's
the
just
heck is happening.
sarcastic as well.
Well,
Like blunt,
sometimes, but like
blunt and a little bit sarcastic.
Deadpan.
deadpan.
Kinda, yep.
Maybe-
Yeah,
maybe that's the word I'm
he's
looking
got
for.
some
Yeah.
sort of like emotional disorder for sure. But like, yeah, every time I was just
Nobody's that funny on
laughing.
purpose.
And in this book, I was just laughing out loud in the lab all the time. But again, I was listening to the book. And so I'm trying to think of times where I've just been reading and been laughing out loud. I've definitely cried when just reading.
Yeah.
And I think that I laugh as well. But I always feel like I have to explain what I'm laughing at to people around me if I laugh for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
I definitely
can't see that you have headphones on.
Well, no, if I'm just like reading at the lunch table or something and I laugh, then I have to explain to everybody
My
what
favorite
is
is
going
when
on.
you see somebody who's like on a walk or a run and they're going round and then all of a sudden just like burst out laughing or whatever at whatever they're listening to.
podcast.
So good.
Yeah.
Never
Definitely a housebound
witnessed
listen.
that.
Oh, totally.
Oh, totally.
That's how
Yeah.
we know.
That's how we I definitely have laughed a little bit. Definitely have cried at a book. I know that there was a book that I gave to Ashlynn when we were dating that I was like,
Oh, yeah.
you should read this. It's so good. And like,
It'll make you
know,
cry.
And then I gave it to Ashlynn, and then I was like, when she finished, I was like, oh, we'll have to talk about, and like, it was probably like a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah, I was
it
like,
was just like,
not a tear was
it's-
shed.
It was okay.
I'm
Like,
sorry.
Yeah.
just no connection with it at all.
No.
I think I've only been disappointed isn't the right word, but like sad. But
I
like,
have only known but pain other than that one chuckle.
Going for
every book I've ever read has been terrible.
Which
No,
is why you've never finished The Dark Tower.
but I think I've only ever been is forlorn the right word at the end of a
Forlorn.
series when you're
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good word.
book sad.
when you're
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 where you're done.
sad
There-
that you're
there has to
done,
be a word
but it's a
that they've
great
created
but
for
there's a
that.
great it was a great series.
It's a loss.
Happy that you read it. You're happy you experienced it. But I don't think I've ever laughed openly. Have had visible emotions at a book. To be honest, I think I'm more of a. I will sit and watch a stand-up comedy show, or show is not the right word, but like stand-up comedy performance that's been recorded. I've never, aside from Ashlynn's shows, I don't know that I've been to too many in-person comedy.
Oh, it's so
events.
Fun.
It is fun. It is fun to like sit and laugh. I guess when you have some like well-timed jokes during a movie, especially when you're going opening weekend to like a theatrical release, and everybody is on the same wavelength in that theater, and so again, then we're hitting on
that's similar.
Where we're all different people. There's 400
it's so much more fun
unrelated people in this theater, and yet we're all laughing at the same jokes because we've all got the same baseline of understanding of where this joke is coming from this franchise.
When you compare like the Marvel movies to like Tim Burton's Batman, like there's so much more like humor in like movies, like superhero movies now. And it's definitely.
I think in just any like. There are still serious movies coming out.
But they're fewer.
But it just feels like movies nowadays are like, oh, we want to attract people, better have comedy in it.
Because we were talking about when you guys were going through your Mission Impossible marathon, how like they start very serious and like
so different
like,
by the
Mission
end.
Impossible 1,
the
2,
first
like
2 movies
are
have been
fairly serious, but then by the end of it, it becomes like
it's just running.
It's very lighthearted.
Very lighthearted.
Yeah.
Same thing with Fast and Furious, right? Where like that series kind of starts off fairly serious.
I think more so now you laugh at the series.
Yeah.
you do with the series. I think it's more just disbelief.
No, but even like Fast and Furious definitely has more humor. It definitely feels lighter. At the beginning, it was like, there's this family and they're going to be torn apart and they have to figure out how to stay out of jail. And it all feels really like, oh no, bad things are happening. But now it's like, oh, the God's Eye, whatever that thing was, program is going to ruin the whole world. But we're going to trick out this car and go to space. Like, it's funny.
Yeah, that's why I say laughing at. I mean, there is a lot more humor in it now, for sure. I'm trying to think of what other like long. I feel like it devolves to humor though. So you take a franchise that may have started somewhat seriously, it just always devolves into humor. But then I'm thinking of things like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more humor in it than there ever
Last
was.
Jedi was pretty funny.
Definitely.
I guess that was there was a
they
bunch
threw
of,
in a lot of stuff.
There was a bit
there
of joking in there,
like,
but then you have a completely different writer.
Yeah, different writer, different
and
director.
then we were watching the prequels recently, and I don't know if the jokes in the prequels or the humor.
Jar Jar Binks, oh man, that's the pinnacle of comedy right there.
Well, I don't know if
that
it was
character
actually any
quite
funny though.
It's ridiculous.
I think it's funny looking back on it and being like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I'm sitting there laughing my head off at the antics of this. And I think that's what a lot of people struggled with when the movie came out. They're like, what is this humor? And and it's not humor for the sake of like knee slapping. Like that was great, like a stand-up comedy gig. It's
just to add levity or whatever.
Yeah, it's to brighten the situation a bit. And I think we get a lot more of that out of a character like 3PO and R2-D2's interactions in the movies because they have a very relationship.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern kind of the jesters
modeled after something. So
even like genre though, I feel has changed. Like I know that me and Ashlynn, like we watched a movie with your parents called The Inside Job or Inside Man or something like that.
Are you talking about like
Inside
the Clive Owen movie from like the 2000s?
And so it's like a heist
Denzel
kind of
Washington?
movie, you know? And
Love
I
that
remember
movie.
as a kid watching it and going like, oh yeah, this was really good. And then we watched it with your
Is
parents.
it a comedy?
It is not.
Oh,
But
okay. I was going to say I don't remember any jokes in that.
What's interesting though is I think we now go into movies expecting even like a serious heist movie or something like that.
A certain amount
we'll
of
still
levity.
have like some amount of like a character that kind of is in there just to like throw in the odd joke, just to kind of like brighten the mood a bit. But it was like serious the whole way through.
So,
And which does, I don't know if it's just like our expectations of movies like require it to have like at least a little bit of humor just to get by. Because even like the Batman movie, dark brooding kind of thing, there's like a few like odd, like funny little moments in there that they threw in that I don't know if they're necessarily fully laugh out loud, but there's not a ton. And I think that's probably is a part of the reason why I think a lot of people don't like it, because it's 3 hours of like,
seriousness.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that every movie needs to have humor in it.
There's a weird, so there's the seriousness of like the new Batman. Then there's the seriousness of like Inception. And they feel different, because Inception, I'm trying to think of any like real moments.
There's a lot of good humor in Inception.
Humor.
Like,
I don't remember any.
I don't think they're memorable, but I think they do have some.
Tom Hardy whips out, they're in the dream sequence, like 2 levels down, and he whips out this huge bazooka and goes, you can't be afraid to dream a little bit bigger, darling, and blows a guy off a roof. Or Joseph Gordon-Levitt is like leaning backwards
on the chair,
learning how to balance on his chair.
And falls backwards. I do remember that.
Leonardo's character kicks him out from underneath it, or maybe that was
there's a few they added a little bit, but I think generally,
but I think it's well placed.
Still felt. And it still felt serious the whole way through.
Yeah. And I think it's keeping true to the characters in the movie, not having them do something that
was a dead serious movie.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there was any jokes cracked in that movie.
Yeah.
Probably not. No, something about
really
about when they're in the Seacan trailer going back to the airport and the one guy's laid out on the cot. I thought maybe there was like a quip there or something, but yeah, it's not. I
just feel that in order for a movie to do well in theaters, I think it has to have some amount of humor. Yep. Otherwise, people just
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
It might get an Academy Award, but that's kind of where
Academy Award. Well, those are real things.
Okay. That shouldn't have had air quotes, but that's just that's what they get, and that's what they'll
Well, that's what they're
prop
going
up
for
on their Blu-ray or whatever, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an enjoyable experience.
I was going to say that there's definitely been a lot of what I have perceived as going to be serious movies, that I hear have done, relatively well, but I have never seen them, and I would assume has no humor in it. So, there's a recent one, something like Last Night in Soho with Anna,
I think I've seen posters
Taylor-Joy,
for that,
or whatever her name is, and I'm probably saying that name wrong. And it sounded like it was a very well done movie, but it looked really serious, and I was like, I don't know if not that I won't watch it if there isn't any humor, but it just wasn't grabbing me. And something also speaking of this actress whose name I'm not sure if I said right, she was in that New Mutants. The kind of the last X-Men movie that was produced most recently, and that movie was marketed a bunch of different times and a bunch of different ways, and delayed and moved over a couple different studios before it finally got released. But it was marketed as this more so a horror, or at the very least a thriller movie, and then there was a lot of comedy in it, and again, not all of it was something that I thought fit really well with the movie, but that's a writing issue. It was just interesting to go and see the movie and be like, oh, there is some lightheartedness in this. And I don't know, maybe those were reshoots. That's they did the same thing with the Suicide Squad. Sorry, Suicide Squad. Wait, the Suicide Squad. Which is the newest one? I
have no idea. I haven't followed the series.
The first Suicide Squad.
It's kind of.
It was apparently it was reshot and added a whole bunch of humor throughout to make it more lighthearted. Maybe that's what test audiences said that they wanted. So, I don't know I think there is still a spot for movies that have no humor specifically in it. I imagine any of these movies where a girl is on a train, or a girl is across the street, or a girl is seeing a murder, or whatever those movies are all called. Has a dragon tattoo. I imagine not a whole lot of humor in those movies, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Maybe it's just because I haven't watched them and there is comedy in them.
I think they're fairly serious.
But
they strike me as no
fun. And those movies do well. And that have really dark humor. So it's not about the levity, it's about the justice in the humor, which is really interesting. I was thinking about it before because there are different kinds of humor, right? And with girl with the dragon tattoo, she's
filled with puns, obviously.
Yeah.
Of course. Anyways.
Clear. Definitely. It's
just threw me off. No, her whole point is like punishing men who hurt women. Right? And so a lot of the like humor is this like shock of what she's willing to do and why she's willing to do it.
Right.
And so you're laughing or maybe not laughing,
like
but you're
shock.
like you're like struck by the humor in that,
Yeah.
even though it's completely not alleviating any kind of tension.
Oh, speaking of, this is very timely, and I know everybody is probably sick and tired of talking about it, but the Academy Awards that just happened.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
That's why I put it in air quotes.
Yeah.
It's not real.
It didn't actually happen that way. But you have this interaction with a couple of people on stage and just like a shocking moment. And I'm sitting there going, wait, what? And my first reaction is to just kind of laugh because I don't like something just happened and it surprised me. So laughter is this default reaction that I have. I don't immediately see that and go like, oh no, and like jump on Twitter and hope everybody else is really concerned. I jump on Twitter and everybody else is like, I'm laughing myself to death. Like what just happened?
Yeah.
I'm dying laughing.
Just incredulousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
what is
maybe
I
that's
think
just
it's a Jim Gaffigan line when he's talking for the audience and he's like, I didn't come here to be shocked into laughter.
Yeah. And so it's like that default, and I'm sure not everybody's the same way, but I can definitely connect with that my default when I'm shocked about something is to be a little bit feel incredulous about it, and that resonates with me by me breaking a smile or cracking a joke or
there's specifically
laughing
that phrase to laugh it off, right, or whatever, right? So which is like that's kind of like it's like a defensive mechanism in some way. Yeah, you're just like, what did we fill this silence with? Yeah.
That one right there, that silence.
Yep, there we go. The polar ice caps are melting.
Oh no.
But like humor is not just because there's something unexpected that happens,
for sure.
or else I would never rewatch comedy specials, and I do.
Well, I usually wait long enough until I forget some of the jokes.
I generally,
and
you can rewatch it
again.
immediately. It is still funny.
I don't know. I struggle with comedy specials. Chris likes to watch them, so we do.
Yeah.
And it's not as if I don't think that they're funny, but I think I'm concentrating too hard on understanding. We also watch them with captions, and I think that makes them less funny for me because I know what's coming up.
Yeah.
And
miss
so
the
much
timing.
of it is timing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when we don't have captions, then I don't always understand what they said. So like, yeah, give and take. But
yeah, like if we're watching like a show like The Crown, I'm like, yes, let's put captions on because frankly, accents are sometimes tricky to get exactly everything.
Like Royal English accents are not hard to understand, guys.
Well,
they are not hard to understand.
Some of us are less gifted
very well.
A lot of royals recently.
Yeah,
I've watched that show,
but it like for sure like a comedy show, like Superstore or whatever. Like we won't I'll take them off just because definitely the timing. Timing does affect it a little bit. So the same thing with like even like songs sometimes. Like sometimes it's nice to be able to read the lyrics because it's weird because sometimes like I actually don't get the jokes in songs unless I can read them and see, oh, okay, there we go. There's the pun or there's the twist or whatever. But then other times I'm like, yeah, it's good to experience it as it comes. But
that's like Disney music in particular, specifically the villainous songs in Disney music. I like to go and look at the lyrics after I've heard it once because they're always so clever and punny and like
they're written very intentionally.
Be Prepared has so much in it that like if you don't know anything about lions, it won't mean anything to you. But the whole song makes sense to you otherwise.
What's the Moana one with the
crab?
With the crab. Tomatoa.
Yeah. Tomatoa's song.
Yeah, that song that he sings about
Shiny.
Oh, but
yeah. There's so much happening in the lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's funny to listen to. And then when you can like look at the lyrics or you've listened to it a few times that you remember it's like this thing about the words, but you've never really thought about the words. You just sang the words in your head. But then when you actually think about the words or read the words on screen, you see the different layers. And again, that all has to do with like the writing of whoever's writing that stuff. And
what's his
if
name?
they're
Jermaine
Clement.
Yeah, he's great. He does the Rio one too.
The villain in Rio.
Yeah,
the like
cockatoo,
the crazy,
the
white bird, the big bully white bird.
Yeah. And like I rewatched that recently, and that song is like super clever and punny as well.
But it's not just like cracking stupid jokes and like hoping that kids laugh at it, because kids will laugh at almost anything. There is a place for like fairly stupid, unstructured jokes. The only reason that Shrek is such a phenomenon for our generation is because of like just the straight up dumb, like brainless jokes that it often has in it, and it was just kind of like a one of a kind thing at the time, or at least it seemed to me. Like I hadn't watched all the movies in the world, so there's probably another movie out there that's got similar
animation
quality
for adults.
I could still probably quote like half that movie.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've even seen it that many
it's
times.
Like, it's like bad joke after bad joke after bad joke. None of them are great jokes.
No.
Don't at me. But like I don't think.
What are you talking about? Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. That enters my head like, every half hour.
And then you roll your eyes.
That's excessive.
I can sing the whole "Welcome to Duloc" song.
Yeah.
The little puppet things make.
Do it, Chris.
No.
I'm not going to do it.
How long is it?
For our audience.
It's not terribly long, but
For the captive audience.
We're waiting.
No, I'm
So
all kinds of good. Maybe another time.
All kinds.
Please keep off of the grass and shine your shoes. Wipe your face. But like there's a place for sure for that kind of comedy, and then there's a place for very intelligent comedy, and some of these movies that we're talking about, like with Disney, they do try to appeal to kids. I think they also try to appeal to adults a bit, so that there's that nostalgic factor. But then eventually it's just going to be a matter of like, well, the adults didn't grow up with Moana or Encanto. Like the adults are now adults when they've seen those movies. They're not remembering them from their childhood. So they'll go back and watch Little Mermaid or Lion King or Aladdin a million times, but they're not going to come back and watch Encanto unless they have kids that also want to watch it on repeat. And so if we have little things in there that make it an adult hear it and go, oh, that's very clever. And I think like somehow Frozen did a really good job of that, but maybe that's just because they were catchy songs. I have no idea. Like
he's
Olaf is
an
flipping
innocent
hilarious.
adult. Like the humor behind him is just so perfect, especially in Frozen 2, because he's like worried about the annihilation of his essence, basically. And like, what does it mean to grow up and not be who I am?
So he's got like a dark humor in that movie.
Well, it's not dark, it's just so adult. And so kids think he's funny because he's like running into stuff and parts of him are falling off.
But he's fearing for his life.
But he's actually fearing for his life. And so as an adult, you're like, this is hilarious because he's such a transient like life form. And but really we all also understand that. Oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. So there's definitely a place for it in these movies. And yet I go back to what I was saying about how some of these more serious movies seem to do really well, and it appears that there is no humor in them. So I don't think that it is a requirement that movies must have humor in order to attract people. But if you were to have a bunch of people in a room and drop something very serious on them, like some kind of truth bomb, I don't know, some revelation, versus have a similar crowd of people and tell a joke that was like mediocre, probably get a more energetic reaction out of the people that you told the joke to, and you'd probably have more room to go from there. But you'd have to have a very specific mindset of people in a room to tell something serious to and have them stay interested. Like they would have to be very interested in that topic that you're talking about, which like you could tell a joke in any I feel like any setting. I guess if it was a lighthearted person, like, sure, their funeral. I just was like thinking, well, maybe not a funeral, but it might work. It might work. You could tell jokes
I've definitely been at funerals that have humor.
But you can't always reverse that and just drop something super serious in the middle of a conversation. And so maybe that's why something like, I know that there's people that feel like they're championing causes at awards ceremonies, but I always kind of feel like award ceremonies, they always get a host that's like a joker, because that's the thing that keeps people light and keeps things moving. Yeah. But then people will come up and do a speech about something really serious, and everybody's kind of like, it kind of takes that wind out of the room. Totally. It's just kind of like, it's not that we don't care that this is a thing. Well, like, maybe we don't care that it's a thing, but it's not that this topic you've brought up isn't of interest to any of us. But we were having a good time until now, and you've ruined it. Like, but that's never said, because that's not what it's about. But you go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, I thought of a movie that did quite well. I think it did quite well in the public that I don't remember any humor in. There are some cute moments, but there's not actual humor in it. Arrival doesn't have any, not any like
not
things
even,
that
not
I would
any
laugh
Jeremy
out loud
Renner's
at.
lines or comedy.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah,
like I said, there are some.
There's
cute
a lot more like
with,
a
like,
cerebral, very
but,
serious kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is possible for sure.
Yeah. But I do agree that it's
So do you think we're going through a
rare.
phase as a society?
Might be a phase
Oh,
through
it's
Hollywood.
definitely a phase.
Because people are reading serious books too. It's like books are coming out, and like books aren't all hilarious.
No.
There's books written by very intelligent people, and then there's all these books are being made into movies that also have no comedy in the movies, I would assume. So like it's obviously it's not a, like, maybe it's just a thing that's going to go for a few years, and then they're going to go back to movies not being, well, okay. So now I'm thinking as I'm talking, which is why I'm bouncing all over the place. So I apologize. But I'm thinking about older movies that were action movies, but action movies that just by default, they didn't take themselves too seriously. It seemed like the 90s, the 90s and early 2000s action movies specifically, which was been the era I grew up in, were movies that you never expected something really serious out of them. So something like Tomb Raider, like it's based on existing material, but there's comedy in those movies. They're not like hilarious jokes or anything, but there's okay, I'll say gags. How about that? There's gags in those movies. The Mummy, it's an action movie, but it's also got comedy in it, and you weren't ever thinking you were going to go sit down and watch a movie. Back to the Future, even, it's like a little bit tense at times. Maybe
it's fairly light,
but it's lighthearted.
I thought it was heavy. Thank you.
Whoa, that's heavy, Doc.
Oh, that's so heavy. Why does he keep calling things heavy?
This is a gravitational force
different in the future.
Anyways,
Ashlyn's like,
haven't seen those movies.
it's a quote from the movie Back to the Future.
I thought about saying that joke, and then I thought, well, Greg and Chris like that movie, so I'm gonna say it.
So say the
There's
joke.
a risk. Chris got it.
Was a risk.
It took me a while. Ashlyn, no.
So now,
but that is another part of humor.
Yeah.
Now action movies are trying to separate from that. So you have an action movie like the 355 that we just watched recently, or I guess the Bourne movies might have had some humor in them.
Bourne did not have humor at the beginning, at least.
Not
in the
first
couple
maybe the
movies.
fourth movie where he comes back, like,
or the Jeremy Renner one,
or the Jeremy. Even that one, I don't think has a ton.
Anyways. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe by that point we had already moved out of the like action movies don't need to have humor in them.
I think that was Bourne was the start of the more like gritty, serious.
Yeah. So we had this like generation or this period of time where we were focused on having comedy very much intertwined with the movies, and that's just how it was, and then completely separating them. And now we've got a lot of it. Not all of it coming back together, but we definitely like there's still a separation at in some respects, but then you, like you were saying, if you want to appeal to a broad audience, it's almost like the humor has to be like over and above. So it's like,
I'm gonna posit a thought that these movies are not, it's not as if the movies themselves are changing. It's just the popularity of a particular genre. So,
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
if it's like
comedic action movies have always been a thing, and serious action movies have always been a thing. But depending on where you are at in the world and in time, comedic action movies might be a bigger deal right now. But there are still serious action movies being made, just at a lesser amount and with less popularity. You know what I mean? So like, it's not as if action movies themselves have changed. It's two separate genres that are just waxing and waning in popularity. And so we see more of them or less of them.
Yeah.
That is what I think.
I guess it could also be that the way that we ingest humor, devour humor. The way consume is the word I was coming up with.
Those are all good words.
Slurp
for
up
consume.
the way that we slurp up humor. The way that we consume humor has also changed. So I'm thinking of like old black and white movies where
slapstick.
Well, I'm thinking of movies that are like a little bit more on the serious side, but still have like moments of levity in them. And then now we have like an entire genre that's just strictly, well, yeah, I guess the slapstick humor thing. Like, I don't know. I don't see
like,
slapstick humor as something that's funny anymore.
I think
like, so the genres themselves have
we've shifted as a culture where we're like violence, you know.
I was just thinking this. So like, sarcastic humor when I was growing up was the thing.
Was
big.
It was huge. And now we have a lot more awareness about bullying and emotional like health. And so sarcastic humor and making fun of other people is not as okay. Like Mean Girls is looked at differently by Gen Z than it is by millennials. Like it's so different. And so our humor has definitely changed what is appropriate.
So does that change the truth behind the humor then? Like, is it suddenly wrong to do that, or is it just that people are now
it's still funny. Like, you can still look at somebody and make a joke at their expense and it's still funny, but that doesn't mean that it's good.
Well, was it good back then?
No.
Though? So it was just
it was still
funny.
It
was accepted. I think that's the thing is like
okay.
when things are culturally accepted, you know, like it's like way back in the day, it was okay to be fairly racist in, you know, in your jokes. And now it's like, let's maybe like back off
and
of that.
And that was always racist.
Yeah. And that was always, it was totally always racist, but culturally was accepted. And, you know, wasn't necessarily disproved or whatever. So, yeah, I think that is a good point, though, that humor does change through the years and shift and things are different. And so, yeah, even books that you read from like way back in the day, like those have a different feel and tone, like the humor in them. Like I would say that something like Pride and Prejudice does have humor in it.
It does.
But it is like, you know, it's a very different type of humor than, you know, we see it. It's like
stale.
No,
I don't know. I've seen that movie. It's like, haha.
Yeah, it's more about
joke
like
about
Kitty.
Potatoes.
Yeah, it's definitely like
boiled potatoes line is one of my favorite all-time lines. That's such excellent boiled potatoes.
But that humor was definitely like very based in like the characters and like allowing them to bring out their own character and how they respond to different situations and such. So, but yeah, another brand of humor that I don't think we've talked about yet, but that I really enjoy. I know you guys just think it's puns, but I do enjoy satire. I think that is one of the best brands of humor. And like, it's like such a great way to kind of, it allows you to look at something from a different perspective. And I honestly think that it's probably one of the more helpful versions of humor.
Because it makes you feel safe while you're doing it.
Makes you feel safe while you're doing it. Like,
or it allows you to analyze.
Yeah. Yeah. And it allows you to self-analyze and stuff. Like I know there's a, like, for example, like the Bible filled with puns. We don't get to see them because they're in Hebrew or Greek or whatever. But the book of Jonah is really an interesting book because I've heard it said that if you read it as a satire, it is fascinating because everything is big in it. You have a big fish. There is a big storm. There's a big city that takes like tons of time to get through. And that's, and it's just like this, like really, and even just in how it starts and it's fit in with all these other kind of more serious prophetic books that are like, and the word of the Lord came to Zechariah, but here it's like, and the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai, which means dove. And so, which is like the symbol of peace or whatever. And so, and he has to go and tell all this news of destruction. And it's just, what it does is it makes you shift your viewpoint because you think, oh, he's a prophet, he should be a good guy. But then what ends up happening is he's on the hill sulking and there's this vine that creeps up and he gets more distressed about the vine that dies than the people in the city that he wants just to get destroyed. And it's just this really fascinating thing that makes you look, and it's supposed to, I think, make you analyze yourself as, either a Jew or as a Christian. And you're supposed to think, how do I want other people to be treated, right? And what do I get upset about? And, and those comforts of life and things like that. Whereas you're not like, no, like, anyways. And so it's just, it's a really interesting brand of humor that's fascinating that it existed like way back then in how this story was written. And I like there's movies that I watch that I just loved because, especially like within kind of the Christian bubble, it's easy to sort of, for myself, just to kind of get like, you just kind of get tunnel vision, right? But humor and brands of humor will help. Like when we talked about the movies that we watch that are Christian movies, I think one of them that was mentioned, hopefully, was Believe Me. And it's just like this great satire that just sort of like just makes fun and just kind of makes you notice, oh, those are weird things that we do as a Christian community and stuff. So yeah, those are definitely like my favorite because they help and make me reflect on, okay, how am I treating other people, or how do people view me? How do people perceive me? So,
well, and they're generally intelligent.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you have to assume a level of intelligence of your viewers when you make a satire.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they take you seriously, and that's not the point.
True, yeah.
Like 30 Rock is basically completely satire.
Yeah, like, yeah, or Netflix also has these Death to 2020 and Death to 2021 satirical movies that they do, the recapping of the year. And it's like,
there's that movie
that
Don't Look Up
that
just came out. Did you guys watch that at all?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. Very much like a satire that's meant to like, for you to think.
Yeah. So yeah, and it makes you sit there and it makes you laugh and it makes you cringe. But then it makes you analyze how true to real life that is, which
and that's where like, sorry, I'm bumping the table, sorry, but pounding, but that's where like movies like Get Out or Us by like Jordan Peele, like that horror franchise that kind of is now like, it's kind of becoming more popular, but that has been, there's humor in it, but also it is very satirical. Like Us, I know you guys haven't watched it.
No.
Right? And I don't think you guys are intending to, right?
No, but
I
think
do not intend to watch that movie.
I was talking with some people the other day about how the movie ends and like what the twist in the movie is.
It's
and I was like,
one.
oh no. I was like, that sounds like it would be such a great movie to watch. Except I can't bring myself to watch horror movies.
But like, just like a little spoiler, like in terms of just the title, Us, U.S., like United States. Like it's meant to kind of be this like satire on the United States and like, and kind of like, and history and all of that. It's really...
Oh, I gotcha, because of the underground. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand now.
And so as you watch it and all of a sudden things like click together, you're like, whoa. And it just like, it affects you as a person because it makes you go, wow, or us as a nation or whatever, right? I mean, I'm not American, but we Canadians still kind of get grouped in sometimes. So, but yeah.
North Americans.
Yeah. Love satire. We need more of it, honestly.
Does it help us? Does it help us better ourselves, or do we just enjoy it
does.
without reflecting?
Totally. I mean, I don't know.
I think so. I think
we laugh it off and we go home and forget about it, kind of thing.
I think it has more possibility to help people better themselves because it presents something in such a way,
safe space,
that it is a safe space for you to laugh at and then confer with yourself about later. You know, you you don't have to, or laugh at or experience or whatever, but you don't have to confront that about yourself or about your culture immediately while you're watching it. It's just as you're thinking about the movie or the book or whatever later, and you go, that's kind of like this situation that I just experienced, and kind of I was kind of the a-hole in that. Like, I guess maybe that's not, it shouldn't have been about me or whatever, right? Yeah, I think it does present those possibilities, but people have to take chances, like take those possibilities in order for them to work. You can't just present something and expect everybody to change automatically. I hope that Don't Look Up made people think about climate change and how we are ignoring
it did.
But it may not have, right? Like, it's the people who already know about climate change and care about it that really saw the satire in it.
Sure, yeah.
And
it's for that audience.
But on the other hand, like, there may
then,
be some people that saw it with those people, and then as they're talking about it together, they can talk about that subject.
Well, and even like sometimes like you might believe something, but you might not necessarily be acting on it. And satire could just like give you agree with it, but it gives you that extra little push of like, oh, okay, yeah, I should really be doing something about this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Electric cars for everyone.
I don't think that's the sole solution. Most of Saskatoon's electricity is.
I would love an electric car though.
Yeah,
just zipping along.
This has been an interesting discussion because we've been analyzing our humor, and so I think at points we went long periods of time without making any jokes because it was hard to analyze jokes and then also make jokes.
Super meta.
Yeah, so I think once we get back to regularly scheduled programming after this episode, we'll all be a little bit more chipper and a lot less serious. But
as an audience, you will have to expect some sort of a satire coming from us about podcast listeners.
Ooh. Podcast
we could do.
You're talking about that podcast idea about how we do an entire podcast. Using tropes from podcasts, but not actually.
That would kind of be satirical.
Substance.
Yeah.
Kind of. There's a new movie out that is satirical.
Oh.
Called it's with the Cliff Monsters. You know what I'm talking about? The Bubble.
The Bubble.
It's called The Bubble. It's about people making a movie.
Wasn't good. Did you watch it?
No, we haven't.
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah,
it wasn't good, but that's because I looked on Rotten Tomatoes. So
I've also heard that it wasn't that
about
great.
how that affects me.
It sounds like the humor in that movie is like very all over the place.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But Karen Gillan is in it from
Yes,
Doctor Who,
and I love her.
Yeah, Adventures and all that.
Yeah.
Every actor
Nebula.
in that movie
Nebula.
I know. So
Yes, it's true. There's a lot of. It's a big, high quality cast.
For a humor movie, for a comedy movie.
Yeah.
It has a lot of like, it kind of feels like those movies that they did in the late 90s, early 2000s, those like spoof movies where it was like, there was like 500 came out and they did one that was like Meet the Spartans. Yeah. And it was just a whole bunch of
like a
large
scary
name
movie
actors or the scary movies or whatever that I would never watch in a million years. They just look so bad. But there's like people that love that kind of humor. And I was just like, how do people find this funny? And I think that people didn't find it funny. They just found it like stupid enough to rewatch. They were just like, this was dumb and I will rewatch it.
That's how I felt about Napoleon Dynamite.
I didn't like it.
Not your kind of humor.
Everyone talked about it. Like, we came back to Canada and everyone was like, you have to see this movie, Napoleon Dynamite. It's amazing.
It's not amazing.
Tater tots, dude.
So
and it's just like,
best
oh man, it's just so ridiculous. Like, it's so bad.
That's what Canadians sound like.
We watched through like, I think probably 45 minutes of it. We just couldn't finish it. Me and my brothers.
It's tough to get through. I won't disagree with you.
You haven't finished Napoleon Dynamite?
No.
No, but I have a signed copy sitting on my shelf.
What a good Canadian accent you just used.
Thank you.
One of my best friends in high school and I watched Napoleon Dynamite, didn't laugh throughout the entire thing, looked at each other confused, and he was like, we have to watch it again. And so then we just watched it again immediately, and it was hilarious the second time because we were just like, the first time through, you're just like, I don't know what I'm watching.
Yeah,
I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
and
you're expecting there to be a story structure,
and
it ends up being like a montage of a of a person's life, sort
Without
of.
Eye of the Tiger playing in
the
background.
Yeah,
And
but
you're
it's
just like,
not
oh,
like an inspirational
these are all separate
montage.
stories that are all kind of back to back to back. It's
No,
not
they're
one.
all connected.
They're
with
well,
the
like they
same
are
family.
Yeah, but like they're
Yeah.
connected. But it's like that small town. It's like the more
Oh,
that you
gosh.
watch of it, or the more that you read of it, the more you start to understand about the family. It like builds your knowledge of the town, and then you like
There's
you
no
appreciate
puns,
it at
I'm
the
out.
end.
No, but there's
Oh, it's-
moments. There's just these moments, like the woman who is getting sold the Tupperware stuff, and then he brings out a ship in a bottle, and he's like, "If you buy this much, you can have this ship in the bottle." And she's looking at the ship in the bottle, and she's like, "Oh, I want that." And so then she buys the Tupperware, and I think about that line all the time. I want that.
I have a feeling-
And sometimes I say it out loud, and
You
Chris
do.
is like, "What?"
I've heard you say that.
I have a feeling that also has to do with like corner gas style humor, where if you didn't live in the prairies, you might not appreciate that style of humor as much. So you're going for this perspective on like a small town, these kinds of people that are in this small town or whatever. And if you grew up in a small town, then you would appreciate it because you can
goodness.
identify with that
So good.
scenario or that setting. But yeah.
Well, we haven't even talked about memes, but I feel we're probably reaching the end.
I mean, we can talk
Our
as much as we want and just cut it together. Well, we've kind of run ourselves out of the ability to do
we've
quips. In this
ran
one 'cause
aground.
We just overanalyzed and dissected it. So now it feels unnatural to come up with.
Now it's just this thing that we've just left on the
How
table.
will we ever be humorous?
It's
again?
it's the end of our episode.
There we go.
That being said,
That being said, Chris is like, and now this is where I must say goodbye. This has been a wonderful 50 episodes.
Done.
and now I'm done.
Now I'm done.
No, we'd love for you to keep listening with us as long as we keep doing this. We'll for sure try to ride out
The next
the year.
50.
Oh boy. I'm
And then for our 100th episode, oh
man.
man, like it just has to be a comedy fest extravaganza at that point.
At 100
we have
episodes,
to hire in the improv group.
At 100
and then
episodes,
just
you could take
bring them
1
in.
minute from every episode you'd already done and have a relatively long episode.
That would be
Oh
interesting.
my goodness.
That
Do you
would be
think
a-
you could
You could
cut
fill-
a story together?
Just cut all the one-liner jokes. Chris, we're
Oh
hilarious.
my goodness, Chris.
Oh, no.
You need to do
not-
this.
No, I'm not promising we're going to run till 100 episodes.
Okay, not even 100. You could do it with 60 and just 1 minute quips, 1 minute sections.
Episode
That's the
51.
60-minute
We have
Episode
to-
51.
It'd be the best hour of Housebound.
Because it would be all the funniest things.
All
Or
the things
if you
that
could
I
make
found the funniest.
Or if you could make a story out of it somehow from
Oh,
us
man.
just talking.
That sounds like a big homework
That
assignment.
That
does.
sounds like a lot.
But
of
but
what
if
we're
you
gonna
go through
wanna
and
do.
just get the good quips,
The good quips.
We could
just don't make them
try.
all Ashlyn.
They're not always.
Add
I
in a
usually-
little bit of Greg.
I have you
Just
talking
toss-
quite a bit in the.
You're talking,
snippets.
just not being funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Greg
Maybe.
starts talking, and then Ashlyn's like, Greg?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then Greg finishes talking.
Yeah.
And then we never forget.
essentially.
Hashtag never forget.
Yeah.
No, but however many more episodes we do, please keep listening
Thousands.
with us. You can find us online at the Housebound Podcast at gmail.com. That's our email address. If you feel like sending us a direct message, or if you have the Anchor.fm app, you can send us a private message through there. They cap it off at a minute, so send us multiple.
So be quick.
Or just be quick. Yeah. We're on Facebook, Instagram.
Tell us your favorite
and Twitter.
joke. That can
Oh,
fit
yeah,
within
yeah,
a minute.
yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
and if it's a
lovely.
knock-knock joke, even better.
If
Better
you've
than
gotten to this point in the episode and you didn't like get bored midway through, please reply to us or DM us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and
favorite joke, favorite
give us
comedian,
a
favorite
joke,
comedy,
yeah,
whatever.
a
But like,
lead into something that you find hilarious.
yeah, brain teaser, riddle, whatever.
Yeah, would love to engage with
Riddles
you
are
on that.
not funny.
illusion.
Okay,
Like,
they're not
Riddles.
funny.
Brain teasers are also not
Brain
funny.
teasers are also not funny.
Those are puzzles.
We want a
Math
joke or
homework.
bust.
Send us
Yeah.
some math homework. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
No.
Math homework is also not funny. But yeah, reach out to us. I've said all of the ways that you can contact us. I don't think we usually say much else.
Nope.
So, yeah, that's been our 50th episode.
Mm-hmm.
We trust you
joining,
have
guys.
enjoyed it. We hope you have.
Some
enjoyed
of them
it.
have been quality episodes. Others have been a good use of time. You were folding laundry while you were doing it. It wasn't a waste.
You got something done.
You got something done.
Way to go, you.
or
Yeah.
pulling off to the side of the road.
Yeah.
Or went
And-
for a walk with us.
And
Yeah. The Outbound episode. That was great.
yeah. So we'll have more for you in the future.
We'll do more.
We'll do more.
Do more better.
More better.
We're so sorry if this episode didn't live up to the hype. We'll do more better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah.
There's always next time.
Unless we're dead.
Yeah. Very true. Polarized caps, guys.